So the New York Knicks, I think they should pursue Donovan Mitchell, and the sole reason for that is because if they get a superstar in Donovan Mitchell, I think it's gonna put them over the hump and make them contenders. Because I think, adding in Jalen Brunson, obviously being a pretty great move. Now, is he worth the money that the Knicks threw at him? Maybe, maybe not, depending on who you ask. In my opinion, I think he really deserves it. I mean, he was pretty underrated, especially, in the playoffs, helping him alongside Luka Doncic. I think he deserves the bag. Adding in Donovan Mitchell alongside him would be a pretty great backcourt right there, and I definitely would love to see that. Adding in alongside Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and RJ Barrett. And I think we're talking about, I don't know, maybe one of the best East teams we've seen in a while. I mean, if we're looking at the other teams in the East, Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee, I think all of these teams are going to be better than the Knicks, but I would probably place the Knicks at fourth or fifth in the East, depending on if they get Donovan Mitchell. So what's up? My name is JDC. Today we're going to talk about why the New York Knicks should pursue Donovan Mitchell and what he's going to provide to them moving forward. So let's get into it. We'll first start off what they would offer the Utah Jazz. First of all, I think, first of all, they're going to be offering around like 8 first-round picks, something that crazy. And the sole reason for that is because they're trading, the Utah Jazz especially, they're trading their superstar player, their franchise star in Donovan Mitchell. And they're going to need a hefty return for him, basically. Because I think, with a guy that's Donovan Mitchell's caliber, I think he's going to be worth more than at least 5 to 6 first-round picks, maybe even 8 first-round picks. So first, it's going to be around 8 first-round picks. Secondly, they're going to have to add in some young talent alongside that. Emmanuel Quickley is the first guy that comes up in my mind. Quentin Grimes is another guy. Maybe package both of them. Even Cam Reddish, who's a guy that's pretty inexpensive to the New York Knicks. I think a mixture of these 3 guys, or 2 to 3, these guys especially, could definitely be in the trade package. And I think it would be a pretty great deal. If you package Emmanuel Quickley, Cam Reddish, and 8 first-round picks in exchange for Donovan Mitchell, you get Emmanuel Quickley, who still has a lot to prove, being only 23 years old. Cam Reddish, only being 22, has a lot of potential, both these guys especially. And I think, the Utah Jazz going fully into a rebuild, they get young talent. They also get some first-round picks, 8 first-round picks in general. They also get, they can also maybe trade even, I wouldn't say Obi Toppin, because I think the Knicks should definitely keep Obi because he was going off in the second half of the season. But if they have to include Obi, I definitely would, because, you're getting a superstar player in Donovan Mitchell especially, so I would add an Obi Toppin. Looking at Donovan Mitchell's stats, he averaged around, 26 points per game, around 4 rebounds, and around 5 assists. I think he's going to put this Knicks team over the top alongside Jalen Brunson, who is already a pretty great playmaker in himself. He played in around 67 games, played around 34 minutes per game, and shot around 55% from the field and around 36% from 3 in the regular season. Looking at his postseason stats, I wouldn't say they're too impressive because, his shooting splits are pretty horrendous. Averaged around 26 points per game, around 6 rebounds, and around 4 assists, and around 6 games played and around 38 minutes played. Shot horribly, around 40% from the field and around 21% from 3. He averaged around 4 rebounds and 5 assists, So, I don't know. Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, we all know him to be a pretty high volume scorer, someone that's going to give you buckets and at least 20 points per game a night. The problem with Donovan, looking at his postseason stats, 21% from 3 and 40% from the field is basically not going to get it done. But at the same time, he was the primary focus on offense when, in the postseason. Looking at the other guys, Rudy Gobert, he's not really known to be a guy that's going to be playing offense. Boyan, Jordan Clarkson, we got all those guys right there. There's not a guy that's going to be taking over the game like Donovan Mitchell. And I get it. 40% from the field and 21% from 3 isn't all that great. But if you're the primary focus on offense, you got to be better than that. I think if he goes to the Knicks, he's going to have, the same role like he did in Utah, but he's going to have a better supporting cast. Julius Randle, although he had a pretty horrible season last season, I still think he's going to be a pretty great player for the Knicks. Same thing with Jalen Brunson. I think both these guys are going to be pretty great. Looking at Julius Randle's stats, he was pretty disappointing last season. He still averaged around 20 points per game and 10 rebounds, also 5 assists, but nothing compared to his MIP season the season before last season, where he averaged around 24 points per game and 10 rebounds. So, Julius Randle, he still has a lot to prove. I think he's going to be slated for another average season, nothing compared to his MIP season, but Definitely going to be maybe like a 20-10 guy again, maybe even 21, 22 points per game score, something like that. I don't really expect too much out of Julius Randle, but at the same time, I think he's going to be a huge piece to this Knicks team. Same thing with Jalen Brunson. I think he's going to be slated to have a breakout year coming to the Knicks. Now, we did have, 16 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists with the Knicks, or with the Mavericks, sorry, but I think he could probably get up to maybe like an 18 or 19 points per game score and around 6 assists player. I mean, with Donovan Mitchell there, they're going to create a lot of gravity. I mean, him and Julius Randle both can create a lot of gravity, especially in the post. So Jalen Brunson, he's going to be open for a lot of, quick catch and shoot threes in the perimeter. So I think the Donovan Mitchell trade should definitely happen. I mean, they're not really giving up too much in terms of depth, because I think giving up Emmanuel Quickley and Cam Reddish, or I don't know, Emmanuel Quickley should definitely be the primary focus, but if they give up Cam Reddish, Quentin Grimes, or someone of that caliber, I think even off the bench, they should still be pretty fine, because they're not giving up RJ Barrett, not giving up Julius Randle, not giving up their primary, depth pieces, not even giving up Mitchell Robinson. Going out for a guy that's going to help them get over the hump, I think it's going to be pretty great for them. Obviously gives him a pretty much a primary ball handler and a number one scorer right there. But also, like, the supporting cast, I mean, RJ Barrett, I mean, he's been improving each and every year. I think he's going to have another great year, especially with Donovan Mitchell there. And adding him alongside RJ Barrett, I mean, this team is still fairly young. Looking at the ages, I mean, RJ Barrett only 22 years old, Jalen Brunson 25. Emmanuel Quickley, 23 if he still stays. Julius Randle only being 27 years old, so he's in the prime of his career. I mean, Cam Reddish, 22, Mitchell Robinson, 24. This team is fairly young. They have a lot of young talent, first of all, and I think adding in alongside Donovan Mitchell, who is around 25 years old, going to help them a lot in the long run. So let me guys know what you guys think about the Donovan Mitchell trade to the Knicks. I think I would absolutely love it to see Donovan Mitchell in the New York Knicks jersey. It would be pretty great to see. And I think the fit alongside these other guys is going to be pretty great too, because I think what he's going to be able to do, it's going to get them pretty far in the playoffs, hopefully. Not, projecting anything too early, but at the same time, I mean, if you're getting a superstar player in Donovan Mitchell, you should make it pretty far in the playoffs, maybe even, the conference finals, depending on what happens. So let me guys know what you guys think about Donovan Mitchell. Would you guys like him in New York? And I'm out to this video. My name is JDC, and I'm out. Peace.